Welcome back for another video. As we look forward to the end of the international break, in this video we look at the top players with predicted points in Gameweek 9 and over the next 5 game weeks to make your transfer plans and captaincy easier. Predicted points are courtesy of FPL Review. We hit 120,000 subscribers over the break, so thank you so much for all the support. If you would like to watch more of this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's start with the goalkeepers, and for the first time in a while, Alisson is back on top of the projections with 4.3 points. Liverpool return from the break are home to Brighton, who play their first game with the Potter replacement De Zerbi at the helm. There's every chance Liverpool return from the break a much improved side, with Thiago Henderson and Matip all big boosts and haven't started together since Gameweek 1. Ederson's in second with 4 predicted points for the Manchester derby at the Etihad. Should be Ten Hag's toughest game yet since taking charge. City quite comfortably best in the league for expected goals conceded this season with 3.96 XGC, Arsenal second on 5.32. It's a great fixture for West Ham, home to Wolves, and Fabianski is actually second among all keepers with projections over the next 5. A fixture run that includes home games against Wolves, Fulham and Bournemouth. After Ward, Pope is the second most owned keeper in the game and he has 3.7 points away to Fulham. Ward has 3.2 projected points and misses out this week. There has been some discussion as to whether it's worth starting him over someone like Pope if you are doubled up on Newcastle defence. It's not a terrible idea if you want to hedge your bets, but it may be somewhat dependent on Mitrovic, who did pick up a minor injury over the break. We'll talk more about that at the end and what we know. If you're looking for a super cheap keeper, Bazunu and Melia are probably ones to avoid. Raya's probably the standout here for 4.5 mil. Next up, the defenders, and Alexander-Arnold's top with 5.4 predicted points. He's also top over the next 5 and one to strongly consider if you're on a wildcard. For many it's a decision between him and Cancelo, and it's worth considering that Cancelo does blank in Gameweek 12 too, along with Arsenal. So you're likely to maximise your long-term points with the Trent pick, or you could book in a transfer for Gameweek 12 if Cancelo is your man. There is of course the possibility to bench Cancelo in Gameweek 12 too, though you'd realistically need to own 3 players maximum from Man City and Arsenal in total to ensure that your bench is sufficient. It's a real juggling act as Man City's long-term fixtures are very good after their blank game week. Matip's last league start was back in Gameweek 1 and he's straight back in the projections with 3.7 points. Historically, he's been a very injury-prone player and he's missed 4 games this season with injury. However, if he can remain injury-free, we know what he's capable of and he's a great pick for 5.9 mil. Last season, in just under 2,800 minutes, he ended on 170 points. Zuma's home to Wolves this game week, who we discussed in the wildcard video. They've scored the joint fewest goals this season with 3 in 7 games, so in other words, on average less than a goal every other game. So for 4.5 mil, Zuma's not as crazy as he looks at first glance, and he can sit first on your bench after Gameweek 9 just in case required. Trippier has 3.5 projected points tied with Zuma this week. Tsimikas makes the list due to Robertson's injury sustained right at the start of the break, however he is one to avoid. Realistically, he may get the nod in Gameweek 9, but beyond that it's unclear. Onto the midfielders, and Salah's top with 6.9 points, marginally top among all players ahead of Haaland, who's up next. Those who were brave enough to bet against Haaland in Gameweek 8 were rewarded, with De Bruyne, Kane and Son all outscoring the Norwegian. It could be another opportunity, and Salah's been on form over the break, scoring a brace. De Bruyne or Salah's another tough one on the wildcard. Although Salah tops the projections over the next 5, there is the option to give De Bruyne the next 2 or 3 games. He's got home fixtures to Man United and Southampton, before City and Liverpool face one another, and then you could make the switch to Salah. Maddison's come firmly back into our thinking with a kind run of fixtures for Leicester on their return from the break. It's a make or break run of games for Rodgers, with Leicester sat rock bottom in the Premier League table. They simply must get a good result against Forest, and Maddison's a great one to consider. Despite his blank last match, Bowen's an easy hold for Gameweek 9 and he has 4.6 projected points. It'll be interesting to see how Potter lines up against Palace. His only competitive match so far was in the Champions League, where he had Sterling and left wing back at times, though pushing very advanced. It's perhaps too much of a gamble right now, but one that could pay off massively. And after Palace, Chelsea face Wolves at home and then Villa and Brentford away. Son's also right back into our thinking after his hat-trick off the bench in Gameweek 8. Golden Boot winner last season with Salah on 23 goals. Remarkably, despite only picking up an assist before Gameweek 8, he's now just 2 points behind Salah after his hat-trick. You'd perhaps put Haaland and then one of Salah and De Bruyne ahead of Son, but on a wildcard he could be squeezed in as part of a triple premium team. If we look at the current number 1 in the world, he's actually managed to squeeze in 4 premium, so it can certainly be done. Realistically, in my eyes, 3 is the max to be aiming for though, before disrupting team balance too much. If this video has been useful so far, please drop it a like to support the channel and hit subscribe. Onto the forwards, and Haaland's top with 6.8 predicted points for the Manchester derby. To recap, Salah's on 6.9, so there's next to nothing to separate the two this game week. Vardy's yet to score this season and sadly looks like he's past his peak. In seasons of old, this would be the time we'd all be jumping on him. He's still a very capable player and he could do well over the next 5, but he's not started the last 2 either. So Mitrovic scored a very impressive hat-trick against Sweden over the break, during which he also picked up a minor injury. The coach confirmed that he picked up a knock, but also said that knowing him, he won't miss a game even if he's feeling pain. In an interview over the weekend, Mitrovic said he's only thinking about the Norway game, which is their final fixture over the break. So all points towards Mitrovic being okay, but owners will be hoping he can stay injury-free. Tony has 4.7 predicted points, tied with Kane this game week. Brentford travel to Bournemouth, whose 12.4 expected goals conceded is 4th worst. However, if we dig deeper, their losses this season have been against Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool, 3 extremely tough fixtures, and they've won 2 of the other 4 and drawn the other 2. Perhaps not a team to target as much as we first thought, but nonetheless Tony's a great pick long term. We kick Gameweek 9 off with the North London derby, the first fixture of the game week, and it's a fixture Kane has done historically very well in. In the 15 league games he has 13 goals and 2 assists against the Gunners. Jesus is about on par with Kane on the Gameweek 9 projections of 4.6 predicted points. He's still over 70% owned, so he has the capacity to cause a lot of damage to those who have sold him. When we look at the projections over the next 5, it is understandable to sell though. Haaland, Mitrovic, Tony and Kane all look like better picks with higher projections. Solanke is the other one who has come into many's thinking. Bournemouth have perhaps the best fixtures from Gameweek 9 until the World Cup, and he's only 5.7 mil. He's on penalty duties and he is their talisman, last season scoring 29 goals and 7 assists in the Championship. Not a bad pick by any means, and Bournemouth playing 3 home games in their next 4 against Brentford, Leicester and Southampton, with an away game to Fulham in between. That wraps up the Gameweek 9 Who to Buy video, thanks for watching. In case you missed it, the channel has been nominated for an award at the Football Content Awards for Best New Content Creator. Your votes are really appreciated, and a link to vote for me is in the description. Hope to bring it home as the only FPL YouTuber in the category. Click the link below to vote. See you soon for the next one.